Tennessee Titans fans, ESPN NFL Live, talking about Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. Do they mention the fact that he is the least talked about #1 overall pick at all? Nobody's talking about this guy. Nobody's saying a word. Why is it so hush-hush? We're going to see. They're talking about, it says immediate impact. Cam Ward says the Titans will have a top 10 offense this year. He did say that yesterday. Let's hear what they say about it.
Sal, that'll be here before we know it. How about another joint practice? This one between the Titans and the Falcons. We zero in on Cam Ward, the #1 overall pick.
They got in a fight.
He showed some promise in his first preseason game, completing 5 of 8 passes for 67 yards. He showed great connection with Calvin Ridley, completing 3 passes.
He's going to have to show great connection with somebody else. I'm glad he's got the connection with Calvin, but we got to have somebody else step up too. It can't all be Calvin.
For 50 yards to him alone. Some nice throws there. When targeting all other receivers, he completed just 2 of 5 passes for 17 yards. Here's more from our Titans reporter, Teron Davenport.
Thanks, Laura.
We just got that. My man, Teron. Sharpest dressed man in the business right here. We love Teron here on Two
Talking to Cameron Ward, and boy, did he drop a bomb. He said that he believes this Titans offense could be a top 10 unit with him under center. Ward pointed to the offensive line that he said brings a lot of energy, baby. Especially J.C. Latham, and also the running backs. And most importantly, he pointed to the.
I am glad to hear that J.C. Latham's bringing some energy. J.C. Latham, it felt like J.C. was kind of quiet last year. Maybe it's because he was a rookie, just didn't feel like he had the right to really speak up. But to hear that J.C.'s bringing some energy and some life, I'm glad to hear that.
Wide receivers. And Ward is just a guy that has confidence not only in himself, but with the guys that he's playing with. And that receiver group, he said that they should be a top 5 unit in the league. They're equipped with Calvin Ridley as well as
the little pause after he said that.
He said that they should be a top 5 unit in the league. They're equipped with Calvin.
Teron, just let that one marinate for a second.
Really, as well as Tyler Lockett, so he likes to get the ball to them. And then you have the young receivers, the rookies, in Alec Ayamana and Chimere DK. Those are all guys that Ward is looking for every single day. But I also asked Ward about stability, and he had an interesting take on that because he didn't have stability in college. But he said that he wants to be the reason why Brian Callahan is a top 5 coach in the league, and he would love to be in the league for a long time with Callahan as his coach, Nick Holtz as his offensive coordinator, and Bo Hardegree as his quarterback coach.
I would love that. Listen, that's the perfect dream scenario right there, is that they come in this year and Cam does a great job, gets better and better. Brian Callahan does a great job with him. Offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, everybody does a great job, and they all just stay and get another. Like, I'm all about stability. That's what I want. Now, if Brian Callahan comes in this year and it's a disaster and he's not the guy, unfortunately, at that point, you've got to go get somebody else. But, man, I would love for that stability. I would love for Cam to be able to come back next year with the same group. That would be the best case, if they're good.
From Flowery Branch on the Titans, I'm Teron Davenport. Back to you, Laura.
Shout out, Teron.
Oh, thanks, Teron. Mina, some strong expectations for Cam Ward. What stood out to you about him and this offense last week, actually seeing him out there?
Well, I thought he flashed a lot of the attributes that made him the #1 overall pick. Yeah. The accuracy, the arm talent. He's such a snappy release, and he's able to throw from different angles. I love watching him move in the pocket. Good understanding of defensive leverage and positioning. But if I'm a Titans fan, beyond Ward, a couple things that excite me. One, you talked about this, the connection with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
I was watching Ridley. I was watching Ward in this game, but it was such a reminder to me that Ridley really does have the skills to be a #1 receiver in the NFL.
Y'all stop sleeping on my man Calvin Ridley. I'm telling y'all, he got over 1,000 yards receiving with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph last year. Give the man some props for finding over 1,000 yards receiving with those two.
The deep over that he hit him, beautiful throw, high degree of difficulty catch.
Nice.
And then the other thing I think you're optimistic about is the play of the offensive line. You know, they had a lot of starters out there. This is a unit they've invested a lot of draft picks and money in. It's coached by Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan's dad, who's one of the great offensive line coaches. I thought they looked good in this first outing against the Bucs backups. So a lot to be excited about if you're a Titans fan.
A little shade right there, Mina. against the Bucks backups. But as much as it felt a little shady, she is telling the truth. And that's my one caveat with the offensive line and with everybody, but in particular the offensive line. Yes, they looked very good. I'm curious how they look against starting defensive fronts. I hope that Dan Moore and Kevin Zeitler and Peter Skoronski and J.C. Latham and Lloyd Cushenberry, I hope they look as good in the regular season as they did against Tampa Bay, because what I saw was a clean pocket. I saw the rookie Cam Ward being able to go through his reads comfortably most of the time. I hope that sticks. I really do. But, I mean, that sounded shady from Mina, but, I mean, she's telling the truth. It was in large part the Bucks' backups. So let's just remember that. I'm not saying it discounts that Cam and the Titans offense looked good, but just remember they weren't going against the starting 11.
Top 10 offense is bold, and that's what we just heard. That is asking a lot for a rookie quarterback with a lot of question marks across that offense. I will say this, Callie and Halls go back a long way. They were high school teammates, and now you've got your head coach, who is Joe Burrow's whisperer, and your offensive coordinator, who is Derek Carr's whisperer in those good Raiders years. And they gave up on Will Levis. Like, that wasn't happening. This is the second opportunity, and they love Cam Ward. So I look at this team in year one of Cam Ward. Let's get a nice little start here. But to think playoffs or top 10 offense, that's asking a lot for a first-year player with a team that was maybe the worst offense in the league last year.
Maybe. They were. It is asking a lot. I'm not going to disagree with them at all. It's asking a lot. That's why it's got so many raised eyebrows from people, because it's like, bro. But I'm not going to fault somebody for being confident. I'm not going to fault somebody for raising the bar and raising expectations. It is funny when I hear Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker, they try to just be like, hey, listen, we got a long way to go. They were asked if this team could contend for a Super Bowl, and they were like, we realize we got a long way to go. Then Cam gets up to the mic and is just like, we got a top 10 offense in this league, But I mean, that the one thing that's good about that is if you are Calvin Ridley, Alec Manor, Chimere Dike, whoever, you feel like, man, that guy believes in me. Like, that guy thinks I'm awesome. That guy thinks, like, that guy would rather have me in there than anybody. That's good. I mean, it's good to establish, like, to let your team know, you got me.
Peter,
I had the good
fortune of working with Bill Callahan, and we started the show talking about how Josh Allen and the Bills don't lose games. The reason they gave up on Will Levis was 59 sacks, and then he led the league with 18 fumbles lost, guys. So what does Cam Ward do? He doesn't turn the ball over. He was second in the nation last year behind Cade Klubnik in terms of TD to interception ratio. So I love what he's doing, as Mina alluded to. Like, he'll have great chemistry with Calvin Ridley. I think that'll happen over time. However, he will take care of the ball. This team will be hard to beat because they won't have those self-inflicted wounds. I love the fundamentals of how Cam Ward plays, and that's going to translate to on-field success.
The Titans have a lot of work to do roster-wise. You can look at the roster and tell they really don't stack up against a lot of teams. But what you cannot have when you are already behind the 8-ball talent-wise and just depth, what you cannot have is actively giving the game away. The Titans actively gave games away in large part because of their quarterback play last year. They actively gave games away. Not just him, special teams. I mean, just you can't have that type of stuff when you have a roster like the Titans do and expect to win at all. You've got to eliminate the plays that give it away and then let the chips fall where they may. There's going to be some weeks where a team might just out-talent you. There might be some weeks where you just lose because, the other team's got a Patrick Mahomes or a Justin Jefferson or whatever that just is going to make a play. But let that be the reason you lose. You can't lose because your quarterback tried to shovel pass a ball out into thin air or tried to underhand it out into thin air or tried to force it into double coverage or your punt unit didn't stay in their lane and gave up. Don't lose games because of stuff like that.
People forget just how hard it is to be a rookie quarterback in this league. Yeah. What does success for Cam Ward look like in this first season to you?
I think it looks a lot like what we saw in the preseason game. Some rookie mistakes. He bailed on a pocket early on, but as the game progressed, you saw development. You saw him settling in. You saw him hitting a lot of throws, I thought, from inside the pocket with the quick release that gave me hope. We could see more of that in the future. That's where he's going to succeed in the NFL.
Look legit.
And no pre-snap penalties, no self-inflicted wounds.
Right.
And so far, these young rookie quarterbacks are off to a great start with that.
I do agree with what Laura said. Sometimes we forget how hard it is to be a rookie quarterback, and I think we're already seeing that with me and with you all watching. Sometimes we see what C.J. Stroud did 2 years ago. We see what Jaden Daniels did last year, and we think that's how it's supposed to be. That's how a rookie quarterback's supposed to perform. You're supposed to come in and you're supposed to just – and listen, if you can do that, that's phenomenal. If you can do what Jaden Daniels did and what C.J. Stroud did, hey, that's fantastic. But sometimes – especially when you don't have the most help in the world surrounding you, sometimes it's a growing process. Sometimes it won't always be pretty. Sometimes it'll, there'll be growing pains along the way. I think we've already seen that with Cam in the joint practices and even in the preseason game. Like Mina said, he had tried to run out of a clean pocket and then threw it away, except didn't really throw it away because if a buck would have been standing there, he could have picked it off. So, there's going to be growing pains. It's not always going to be pretty, but as long as you see that improvement, as long as you see him getting more comfortable, that's the main thing you want to see. Being able to play his game, not putting the ball in harm's way like his predecessor did. That's what's key. I thought that was a good conversation. Some of you might disagree. I thought those are the conversations we should have been having about Cam Ward all summer. Let's keep the train a rolling. Tighten up, everybody.